Okay. Let's see. Looks like the screen is cropping a little bit at the bottom. Probably shouldn't make a huge difference, but that's good. Alrighty. Welcome everyone to Soul Calibur 3 Chronicles of the Sword, my primary speedrun project I've been working on for a long time. This is going to be SC percent, meaning Soul Calibur percent. The 23 legacy Soul Calibur characters in this game must also be defeated in addition to winning it. So, we are going to be good to start the timer as soon as I hit select yes here. There we go, that's nice. Okay, so is timer ready? Gonna count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we go. Okay. So Chronicles of the Sword is a special mode for Soul Calibur 3 that was designed because Soul Calibur 3 is the very first in the Soul series to have the Create a Soul function and allow us to make our own characters. So to really benefit that, we have this game mode that is designed to use custom characters. You can't use normal Soul Calibur characters for this mode at all. You create your own party of up to 10 once you have enough slots unlocked. Can equip them with a wide variety of weapons. Soul Calibur 3 had a total of 40 different weapons that you could give to your custom characters, in addition to all the normal legacy Soul Calibur styles. They featured 17 unique styles that existed that pretty much were designed just for all these custom characters. They abandoned them for the later Soul Calibur games because they were not very popular, but oh well, still a these styles add a little bit more neat variety to the thing, so you're not fighting the exact same weapons over and over again. Yeah. So the object of the game is to advance through the 20 Chronicles and the tutorial that we are in right here. There are a number of strongholds in the way that have to be taken. Most of the time, the objective for each Chronicle is not the same, but for most of them, it is conquering the enemy's main stronghold, which, with the exception of Chronicle 20, which has no strongholds, the enemy always has a main stronghold that is level 4 or 5. Other strongholds are levels 1 through 3, which of course, the higher the stronghold is, the more hit points it has, and the greater the effect of its missions. You've just seen a lot of missions over the past couple of runs in Soul Calibur 1's Mission Battle, and the Weapon Master in Soul Calibur 2. A lot of the same things here. Some of these strongholds have missions that do an effect either you or the opponent or both, and we're going to see those in action quite a bit. Not for the first few Chronicles, because they're easy mode. They don't have a whole lot of missions and a lot of impactful ones, but that is something we're going to be encountering in the future. In addition to selecting your character's class, which determines their stats and the weapons they can use, at the beginning of each battle you can change your character's unit type on this tactical map. There are 4 different unit types: infantry, cavalry, knights, and bandits. We go with bandits because they are the best for quickly moving through the Chronicle and taking strongholds. They are really, really horrible at... you can combat other units on the field and not enter into Soul Calibur combat with them, most of them. Bandits are horrible at that. They will pretty much always lose. They do minimum damage and take maximum damage from any enemy they encounter. But I just go into Soul Calibur combat anyway, so that's not a big deal. They're the second fastest running around the map and the second fastest at taking down strongholds, doing damage to them.
Battle 1, fight.
And the 2 unit types that are number 1 in those respective categories are last in the other. So knights are slowest, but do the most damage to strongholds, and cavalry are fastest, but they do the least damage to strongholds. So bandits are very much the superior middle ground between those. Infantry are the other middle ground one, but they're inferior to bandits in both ways. They're much better at combat in the field, but again, that doesn't really matter to me, especially in a speedrun. With a couple of exceptions, most of the time going into battle as soon as possible in Soul Calibur style combat is the fastest way to get through the enemies. Okay, so storyline-wise, like Weapon Master in Soul Calibur 2, this takes place in a kind of loosely defined alternate world universe situation. On this continent, there are three great nations, the Grandal Empire, the Kingdom of Dalkia, and the Haltese Republic. And we are a cadet in the military academy of the Grandal Empire. That tutorial mission we started with, we are... we are under training, and in this chronicle as well, we're under training of the leader, the commander of the academy, as well as the general of the whole Grandal army, Gerardo. And in the first one, he's just basically teaching us the basic. There's a lot of tutorial windows you have to skip through. And in the first chronicle here, we are battling against Abilia, the sharpest woman in the academy, one of our classmates in line for a command position. So we're doing a mock battle to prove ourselves and basically determine who's going to be the top of the class, as it were. And in this, defeat is not an option. We absolutely have to be the #1 person in the class, so we can't lose and then continue on. We've got to win. You'll see a lot of generic units like this that are have a set uniform. It varies from country to country what the generic soldiers look like, but they do have a generic set of armor, as you'd expect from an army. And then you have a few named important commander units like these that are usually higher level. Oftentimes they'll still be themed in the colors of their respective country, which is kind of a neat little touch. And but they add a unique little flavor to it. They really do a good job of showing off the create a soul function in this game. It's very primitive compared to what the later editions of the games, Soul Calibur 4, 5, and 6 offer you, but even so, there's a lot you can do with the characters here, and a lot of different units that you'll see. One of the really neat things about it, too, is that, although of course this is the same case later on, but every enemy you encounter, with the exception of the Legacy Soul Calibur characters, is pretty much you can create an exact copy of them yourself. Yeah, shoutouts to the music in this game. It's really, really good, as it is in most of the Soul series. You get to hear some really good background musics in this game mode, since there's a lot of downtime between Soul Calibur combats. Now we're going to deal with Abilia. Abilia gives us a cutscene. Cutscenes in this game are unskippable, which is a double-edged sword. Bad thing is they waste time. Good thing is they actually let you see a little bit of the story of what's going on, even though we skip through text and everything so fast.
Good luck to you. Fight with all your might, as I will.
You bet I will.
Battle 1, fight.
Soul Calibur 3 has an extremely difficult AI. Soul Calibur has generally been really, really strong in the AI of its opponents, sometimes frustratingly so. But Soul Calibur 3 has a slight error in its AI. There are a lot of moves spread across various weapon styles that the AI just has a lot of trouble dealing with, and Shanghua's Holy Spin here is one of those. When I can set up if I can knock them down and then set up that infinite combo, it will blow through everything. So the Dancer is my primary, with the Soul Shanghua, is the primary character I use throughout the run. Dancer is the only class that can wield Soul of Shanghua, which is a little bit unfortunate because the Soul of Shanghua, or the Dancer, is an extremely weak class, tied with Thief for the worst class in the game stat-wise. Maybe with Saint, who are technically a little bit better, but have lower attack, which is, you know, the most important stat, so... But they are very much glass cannons. and their attack power is fairly low compared to the advanced classes anyway. But with the Soul of Xianghua's moves and with the Soul Calibur weapon, I do a lot of damage. Now we're in our graduation test against General Gerardo. Yes, we have to fight the General himself as well as several of his elite soldiers. No problem. We are the protagonists of the video game after all. We can't lose. Unlike a lot of other games of the sort, this is kind of mini. It's been a bit of discussion I've had with some of my viewers and stuff. This is kind of a New Game Plus style category because I'm running it with a game that has unlocked pretty much everything. And you can play the game fresh new every time, so you don't have to totally delete, but definitely having Sword Masters unlocked and Soul of Xianghua unlocked and all these weapons makes a big difference in battle. But it's just when I started the category and started the run, I didn't really feel that it was worth it for me, fun-wise, to have to delete my game every single time, because otherwise everything you do in the game, Tales of Souls, Soul Arena, everything gives you money and unlocks more stuff for you. And so you do literally have to delete the file if you wanted to start entirely fresh. And there's so much that can actually impact this game that you have to unlock that it really it has a totally different feel to it. I really like playing with these rewards that I've spent all this time unlocking, and it goes a lot faster having access to all these than it would if I were doing a completely fresh file. On the other hand, it does make it intimidating for any other runners to try and go for it if they have one of the flawed copies of Soul Calibur I hear so much about that delete your save data, or if you just haven't been able to put in the thousands of hours of time to unlock everything, you can't make a comparable speedrun to this. So I have been playing around a little bit. Sometime in the future, I'm probably going to start a fresh file category where you do have to have a... I've done one run of that so far, mostly as a kind of meme joke, but it's something I'm planning to do in the future. So now it's on to face General Gerardo. One of the major points of this speedrun is mapping out the fastest route to get to the enemy's capital.
You are strong. One day, you will succeed in life. Of course, only if you manage to defeat me.
Battle 1, fight!
That was a slight mistake, but it worked out well. So far, the AI is being very cooperative.
Battle 2, fight!
Until then. If they get aggressive and use faster attacks than I do coming out, they can hit me and do a lot of damage. As you can see, that assassin took 3 hits to do over half my health. So this is very much in a glass cannon format, and that's never going to get easier for the dancer, no matter how many levels she gains. My other 4 characters are not dancers. They are sword masters wielding the katana weapon, which is also an extremely good weapon with several good moves that the AI can't deal well with. Not quite as abusive as the dancer, but the sword masters can use katana and they can't use Soul of Xianghua, and the sword masters have ridiculous stats. That's very important later on in the game because I'm not going to have the experience to level them up, and while the levels don't make as big a difference as they do in most RPGs, this is an RPG and they do have stats, and high-level characters are... Oops. Forgot I only have 3 characters again.
Welcome to my store. Farewell, good luck. Please come again.
The shops are now useless to me since I've unlocked everything, of course. The only thing you otherwise can spend gold on when you've purchased everything is in... oh, I need to do one other thing, too. You're getting my strats here. Okay. One of the things that's different about this Chronicle is that it has a unique objective not of taking the main stronghold, but defeating all enemies. So I can't just do a bull rush for the main stronghold and take it out. I have to deal with these other enemies, some, not all of whom are going to come after me. So I have to split up my forces along both routes so I can swiftly deal with the enemies up top here as well. And this is a weird instance where I developed a strategy of going fast by going slow. As I mentioned, the infantry is not as fast at taking strongholds or running around the map. And that actually is convenient in this instance because of the time it requires to load up battles. A battle... As you can see how long the load times are for these fights. And so each individual battle I get into adds a lot of time to the run. So these two guys are coming up here. I think I selected the wrong character. Doesn't really matter. And I'm not, I don't have a super big route on experience that my other characters earn. For the most part, they'll all get enough experience to be useful since they're sword masters. Their stats will get up high enough. The Dancer will be doing most of the work, so she'll be in the 40s or 50s by the end of the game. So she's not dead weight. A low-level Dancer is dead weight even with Soul of Shanghua. You just die in 1 or 2 hits. And especially in the final Chronicle, it's not useful to have Dancers.
Be careful from now on.
There's a little bit of trickiness with selecting characters because you can use either the stick or the D-pad to maneuver around the map and select things, and you can also switch between characters with the L1 and R1 buttons. However, the L1 and R1 buttons are completely separate from the stick. It doesn't matter who I select or do anything with. When I press L1 and R1, it jumps to a different character based on who I last selected with the L1 and R1 buttons. So if I lose track of, and it keeps a memory of who it is, again, no matter what you do with the stick. So if I lose track of who I'm on, I can sometimes flip to the wrong character and mess things up a little.
Battle 1. Fight.
It's over. Where are you going? Take heed. I cannot afford to lose.
And like everybody else, if I knock an enemy out of the ring, I like following them. It's just amusing. Soul Calibur 3 is super precise in determining who falls out of the ring first, too. Sometimes I've had some pretty absurd ring outs, especially on like ice map levels and such things. So this is the reason I went to infantry, because these two guys that were running up just enter this stronghold in time for me to take it, and so I get to fight all 3 of them at once. The map is also strong enough, it's short enough, short and long together make strong. It's short enough that I don't lose much time in going to an infantry after this battle, almost none at all, because of a couple of factors, the fact that it's small.
Battle 1. Fight.
It was a very long map, then you lose too much time being an infantry, and it wouldn't be useful to use strats like this. Longer ones, it's a little harder to figure out because they're a lot harder to practice, especially since they're later on.
Fight.
You should really give up.
Final battle. Fight.
As before, I'm primarily relying on the power of spin to win.
You should really give up.
I really want to come up with an emote for my Twitch channel that could somehow encapsulate the essence of this spin to win strat that I use. But that's not that easy to come up with, especially in the tiny little pixels of the emote, but we'll see. Okay. So now we have one guy over on the stronghold to the left, the main stronghold down there in the corner, and that's it. Luckily, many enemies, especially ones that are not part of the aggressive charge forward groups, are programmed to fall back to defend the main stronghold when it comes under attack, and that's what this guy's AI script says as well. So once we start attacking the main stronghold, he'll come running around, so we don't have to worry about taking this taking this one out. He will come to us. So storyline-wise, in Chronicle 3, we've graduated from the Academy after defeating General Gerardo for our graduation test, and we've been assigned a border, the command of a small unit guarding the border between Grandal and Dalkia. And in the middle of the night, we're suddenly attacked by this big group of bandits, but there's something interesting about some of these bandits, which leads into the story evolving past this point, such as it does. So we face the leader of the bandits, whose name right now is a row of question marks.
Decisive battle.
Right now, of course, spoilers, we have not seen the last of this bandit chief after we've dealt with him. First, though, we have to deal with his final two minions, who, as I say, are dressed a little bit interestingly for bandits. Oh, look, he looks just like the Grandal soldier I've been training against. How mysterious.
Battle 2. Fight.
You should really give up.
Let's try that.
Battle 3.
Okay, here's Loki.
You should really give up.
He wasn't much.
It looks like
Even though Loki's a semi-important boss in this game, he's not particularly deadly or dangerous. I have rarely had much trouble with him,
Intention of dying here.
and he has absolutely no intention of dying here. So long! Just like Zasavel in SC6. You don't do this, you're going to die. So long. Alright, so, suddenly the Kingdom of Dalkia has declared war and attacked us, saying that they're retaliating for a sneak attack that was done on their borders, near where we were, and we realized, oh, it's like these bandits must have been part of some plot in order to spur war between us. What's that going to mean? I may not be doing it right here. We'll find out. Again, there are so many little tweaks that I have to do in these Chronicles that it seems like the most direct route is always the obvious choice for speedrunning this game, but there are very subtle things that you can do that can totally alter the behavior of the AI, determine how many enemies you face and where you battle them. And so sometimes I forget that I've made little adjustments to
Decisive battle.
I've made little adjustments in order to manipulate the AI better. Charging all three people here is something that I often come to as a quick route, but turns out to be slower for a couple of reasons.
You're certainly a handful. I shall remember your name, as you are the only one who has provided a worthy challenge.
This is Luna, our primary rival throughout the game. We fight her 4 times, more than we fight anybody else. A important commander in Dalkia with an interesting backstory that it hints at. Kind of similar to it hints at a lot of interesting backstories in the Soul Calibur universe. Like Keelik was raised at
Battle 2. Fight.
at the Ling Shengsu Temple with Xianglin, who is Xianghua's sister, who she never knew about, and Keelik never seems to really figure it out, or at least he never says so out loud or tells Xianghua. And Sung Mina actually trained with Xianghua and Xianglin's father, who left, who stole the Krita Yuga from the Ling Shengsu Temple at one point, as her storyline shows in Soul Calibur 6.
Battle 4. Fight.
Oh, jeez. These generic soldiers are just wiping me today. This always happens. Everything seems to be... Yeah, when you give custom names to your party members, indeed. I generally don't do names like that myself. I'm a very reserved person who isn't as big into that kind of humor, but yeah. Can't say I haven't done funny names. I've never done that one, but yeah, sometimes you can do music names of custom characters. But anyway, Luna has an interesting backstory to her that has revealed over time. Now, this is the first Chronicle where being on the different route makes a difference. Up to now, we've just been doing essentially any percent, but SC percent means that we're going to be fighting the 23 Soul Calibur characters, Legacy Soul Calibur characters, who are here as level 60 optional super bosses. They're very nasty at level 60 this early in the game. They give a ton of experience, luckily, so there is a reward for fighting them in addition to just fighting Soul Calibur characters. So it's just an interesting little meme challenge that I've added to the main game. I really enjoy it. So this is my probably my most played category of this game, just because it's a little bit more than any percent and requires a couple of maneuver tricks to make the best use of the time. But it is... and of course, seeing all the Soul Calibur characters is just fun. Okay, I got the wrong person. That's gonna lose me a bit of time. Not a big deal, though. So our first character we're going to be fighting is Astaroth, who, because he's level 60 and he's Astaroth, he is going to come close to one-shotting my characters. He'd actually do worse against my Dancer. I don't want to even risk her, though, with her low health. She will be one-shot by anything he does. I'd probably be one-shot just by his breath at this point. Astaroth is a Barbarian, which is one of the first starting 6 classes, which means it's one of the weakest classes. So a good amount of hit points at level 60 and pretty decent attack power, but his agility is really low and he has not got a good defense, so I chew through his hit points really quickly, despite the fact that he is over 400. It is nice and convenient that it tells you the hit points of the characters you're fighting all the time. Race between my two characters will destroy the stronghold first. It looks like those two are going to win. Just barely. Fortifying the strongholds, in addition to making them harder to go through, leaves a place for, after your characters are defeated, you don't get to retry, unlike a lot of other modes like this. You can't retry the battle. You're done. You can retry Chronicles after you fail them, but not individual fights. But however, your characters will recover given enough time, and they recover at the nearest level 3 or higher stronghold. Also, shoutouts to the incredible secondary outfits. All of the Soul Calibur characters are in their secondary outfits for Soul Calibur 3, and some of them are really amusing. Check out Astaroth the Hammerhead.
Be careful from now on.
Not that you got too much of a chance to see it. The Swordmaster blows through him pretty quickly. As I say, levels are not the end-all be-all, unlike in a lot of other RPGs, but they do make a pretty significant difference. Hey, thanks, Zach. So, final word about this Chronicle. The boss is unique. Not quite unique, because there are literally 2 of them, but I said before that you can recreate every character other than the Legacy Soul Calibur characters. That is not entirely true. I told a small fib of a lie, because you cannot... Yeah, I'm going to do that. This character and one other character in the game, for some reason, are just extremely tall. And there's no feature in this game, unlike the later Soul Caliburs, to adjust the height of your character. Every character has a set height. I think males are slightly larger than females, but any character you make, regardless, you know, is just of a set size. Thank you. I put a lot of hours into it, so. But Aeolus here, I believe this is Aeolus. No, this is Arion. Sorry, Arion.
Battle 1. Fight.
Is extremely tall. You can see how tall he is compared to my guy. Otherwise, his equipment is standard, and you can make somebody who looks just like him, but he will not be super tall. I don't know why they added 2 giants to the game. There's this guy and one other, but they did. It's kind of a neat little touch. It might have just been practice with bigger hitboxes or something, I don't know, but it's a unique little touch. So we've repelled the first invasion force of the Dalkia, and now it's time for our counterattack. And I ran my character back there in order to hold the enemy back. I'll be using that strategy a couple times in the run. Enemies are not allowed to start combat with you if they're defending a stronghold and you're attacking it, nor are they allowed to leave by an area that you're occupying. And the same for you. You can only defeat the enemies in battle. You can exit out other ways, but you can't go through them if they're attacking your stronghold. So by attacking a stronghold with a character that enemies are trying to come and reach me at, I can basically form a plug that will prevent them from getting to me. It will slightly slow down my movements, of course, but because I'll have one less character attacking the enemy strongholds I want to take. But it's one of my more interesting strategies. Okay, now Abelia, our good old buddy Abelia from the Academy, has been assigned as our second-in-command now, so she has joined us on this mission. This mission has a unique loss condition. There are only a couple of Chronicles that have a unique victory condition, but many of them have a unique loss condition. And the unique loss condition here is if we lose both sides of the bridge, this massive bridge, we'll lose the Chronicle. Because this bridge is super important, and so it has to be held for some reason, even though there's myriad other ways across it. Yeah, nice to be running in the middle of the afternoon this time instead. So, there are 2 reasons I have to have a character on this side of the bridge. And another little oversight. Oh well. One is to prevent these enemies here from coming across the bridge and taking it out. I would instantly lose the Chronicle the minute they conquer that stronghold south of me at the edge of the bridge. But also, there's a Soul Calibur character on this side of the map that I have to deal with. Yeah, that was quite a long day for you. So our 2 Soul Calibur characters on this map are the 2 pirates, Ivy and Cervantes. Ivy is not a pirate, but Cervantes is the only actual pirate in the game, and Ivy is Cervantes' daughter, so they decided to give her the class of pirate. They basically, each class in the game, except for Swordmaster, has 2 characters associated with it. So some of the ways that they divide them up are kind of questionable, but, you know, whatever. They at least sort of work. There's some logic in what they've done. Pirates are an advanced class. They are pretty good stat-wise all around. Good attack and hit points, decent defense, okay agility. So they're strong, and Cervantes and Ivy, of course, are both fairly good weapon styles as well, difficult characters to fight. Luckily, the AI for the game, like a lot of these, does start out bad and get better, so... Was it that early? I've forgotten. I've been in a lot of marathons recently, but I knew it was early. Yeah, that's the nice thing about longer runs, is you don't generally have to do as much when you're hosting and doing all that. But when you've got all those fighting games, especially when you've got all those 15-minute runs in a row,
What? Final battle. Fight.
you're having to trade those out constantly. You can see how many hit points Ivy has in her defense compared to these other characters I've been fighting. And she's decided to be really mean today. She can be. I can't believe that auto-tracked. There we go. Unfortunately, it didn't kill her. In this game, ring out, well, not in Soul Calibur 3, but in Chronicles of the Sword specifically, ring outs do not automatically give you victory. They take half of the maximum life of the enemy. So a lot of times they'll get you really close to winning, and they're still really good to do, but it's not an auto-win. Definitely was. Oh, now I'm going to have to deal with Rowan. Rowan's an interesting character. On any percent, I generally don't fight him because he's constantly running up and down this path. His AI is really weird, and it has strange triggers that I, don't fully understand myself. After we take this stronghold and move up to take the main one, he sits around and tries to get to us, but since he's a cavalry, he can't nearly make it through the stronghold fast enough to attack us. But because we're over on this side fighting Ivy on SC percent, we fight him in addition, just out of circumstance, basically. He's a powerful knight. He's one of the main generals of Dalkia. He might be the primary general. He's also the only boss of a Chronicle. He's technically the Chronicle's boss, but he's the only one who does not wait in the stronghold. In the main stronghold. Every other Chronicle has a main boss who always stands inside the stronghold and never leaves it, but he comes out immediately and starts doing other things instead.
Decisive battle.
Yep, hopefully we'll start seeing those in other more general marathons. I'm glad that I've gotten this run into a couple of different ones.
Battle 1. Fight.
Dancers with tambourines. Most fantastic enemies to face.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
Pretty much for optimization of this run, I have to split, of this Chronicle, I have to split 2 characters out here and 2 characters to the other side. Because if I split 3 and 1, I won't be able to take Cervantes in time.
Decisive battle.
I've never thought about it, but it could be also that some of the weird AI triggers that I am not sure about may just relate to character health. I don't have a lot of skill at data mining games and programming and stuff myself, but it'd be interesting if I had some people looking into some of these, because I'd like to know specifically some of the things like AI triggers in some of these maps. that was fun. Okay, go ahead and restart the timer anytime. And then I'll resume this little battle. Okay, back to the action. We've got poison on us for this big bridge battle. Our side of the bridge, actually, I never thought about it before, but our side of the bridge gives a cure effect to me instead.
Looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next time.
Alrighty, so where was I? Taking this stronghold. Now I just have to take the main stronghold and defeat Cervantes to clear this Chronicle. Let's see if those guys are going to stop at the main stronghold or if they're going to pass through and force me to fight them in the field. That would be inconvenient. Looks like they're going to make it through. Nope, yep, they are. Just barely. Hello. By the way, I love both the banners that are here and the stick figures that are fighting. I've really been enjoying the Libra of Souls in Soul Calibur 6. It's got a very in-depth feel for the awesome custom character and does some great stuff with them. But I really love Chronicles of the Sword too. I'd actually like to... I probably ought to raise a Twitter campaign to go after Bandai Namco and request the next Soul Calibur to be a standalone Chronicles of the Sword game. All on its own. Throw back some of these old weapon styles and stuff, and just have it entirely based in this universe. You could have it a later time period, enhance the ability, you know, the various functions of the map and stuff. That would be really fantastic. I can't be the only person who would buy that game. Okay, they're both in. So the thing that made the fact that those two came through really inconvenient is the fact that the last two guys are now heading towards it, so I'm now going to have to fight two separate battles of two. Yeah, the Chronicles of the Sword really is a great game mode. A lot of fun. I love these, the loading screen stick figure battlers, swordsman battling. Okay, Cervantes' alternate costume just makes him look like some sort of golden knight. Cool, but not particularly super interesting compared to a lot of these guys. He's pretty difficult at times. He's being kind today. There's no ring outs in this map, unfortunately, so all I can do is charge in and try to maximize the damage I do.
It looks like I'm just too strong for you.
And now those two are just going to stand around doing nothing. Well, my last two guys have finished on Stronghold, because it'd take me too long to go through these other places and eventually head up top there. So it's one of those slow moments where it's just the waiting game. So, how's everybody doing this fine day? Having a great weekend so far. I've got my brand new Soul Calibur 6 to play. Lots of stuff to do in that, and of course now a couple of nice comfy speed runs to go through. Now I just hope that my computer is done having tantrums.
Battle 1, fight!
You can't get away.
Misclick. Thank you for attacking high.
You should really give up.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Battle 2. Fight.
You should really give up. I'm sorry, but I must move on.
Okay, Chronicle 5 down. Uh-oh, speedrun.com mod stuff, huh? I am amazingly mod of, I think, 3 different channels. I'm the mod for Soul Calibur 3 because nobody did any Soul Calibur speedruns there until I did my Chronicles of the Sword, so I created it. I'm 4 games. I'm Chronicle. I'm mod for both Pool of Radiance and Curse of the Azure Bonds that I also created and nobody else has done. And I somehow got made mod of Warriors Orochi 3 that I've never played. So, hey Sylvanas. Okay. Ha, nice. Alrighty, so now we are advancing further into Dalkian territory, and we're having our rematch against Luna. This time Luna's brought reinforcements, her Klesser Pemdo. I have no idea if that's how you pronounce it or where the name comes from, but that is what it looks like to me. They are her 4 bodyguard ladies. They have elemental affinities, which of course elements don't exist in Soul Calibur. It's not that kind of role-playing game, but they have...
Final battle. Fight.
Nice jump there. Made that an easy fight.
It looks like I got lucky.
Okie day. This is being a pretty good run so far, except for my computer suddenly crashing in the middle of it, and in a very interesting way. But as long as that doesn't happen again, we're doing fine here. So our first Cluster Pemdo we're going to fight is Loopy of Fire. She has all Guard Break, which upgrades later to all unblockable and other effects, which gets Flame on your weapon, therefore, you know, Fire Element.
Decisive battle.
Yeah, Miguel got a new world record on his Soul Blade run. Started us off real good with being ahead of schedule. And here's our nice Inferno for the Fire Element as well. Now I have to defeat... the victory condition on this map is not only to defeat Luna, but to defeat all 4 of the Cluster Pemdo.
It was a decent match.
So that means that I do have to fight all 4 of them. However, a couple of them are on missions that I really don't like. But because they are actually programmed to defend the main stronghold, I can ignore those strongholds and they will fall back to the main one when I go around them. I also have to deal with Lizard Man, Soul Calibur character here. I'm going to give my guy who hasn't had any fights whatsoever an opportunity to gain 3 levels. Lizard Man is an assassin. A fairly advanced class. They are major glass cannons. They're very weak, very low in hit points, especially for one of the very, very top classes, but they have really, really good agility and really good attack. 3rd highest attack in the game, I think. Probably 2nd best agility, next to Swordmasters, who are almost best in everything. Oh, he didn't quite go over. Come on. There we go.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
Yeah, new command. Okay, now that Lizard Man's dealt with, I can just head to the end. These other guys are going to take one of my strongholds, this one right here. Boo-hoo. So sad. I don't have to worry about him, though.
Decisive battle.
So this is Elua of Wind. She has a whirlwind effect on her map, which constantly pushes you around in a circle. One of the newer missions that they didn't have in the earlier Soul Caliburs.
Fight.
She is normally not very troublesome. I say that after she deals a huge amount of damage to me with a couple hits.
It looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next time.
Her AI is generally really weak. Most of the Cluster Pemdo are not problems, with one battle exception. Occasionally they'll do weird stuff. In this game, any of the AI can at any time, you know, all experienced Soul Calibur players here, we probably seen it all in any of the games we played. It's, oh, this is an easy fight. The AI suddenly decides to troll you. So with I fight probably about 200 battles over the course of Chronicles of the Sword, so that's 200 opportunities for the AI to totally troll me. Some of them with extreme difficulty conditions and such. So it's now that I've gotten my routes and runs on all of my categories so streamlined, it takes some really extreme luck for me to approach PB at this point. I really thought that I could push the PB for this one closer to 345, but I still haven't beaten 350 with it yet, or am I at 349? Anyway, I'm still a couple minutes off of 345, so. And the last several runs I've done, I haven't quite been able to really push that barrier. So here's a rematch with Luna and her other two guards.
So we meet again. Now, it's time to collect on your debts.
Oftentimes, a boss will be programmed to be the last person you fight. However, when the boss has a cutscene, they will always be the first person you fight when the cutscene comes in. If you end up losing to them and coming back later, the cutscene won't replay unless you have to restart the whole chronicle. But if it's in the same chronicle, you didn't use all your guys, you still have some left, and you didn't win the fight, and they're still around, they'll end up being not first. They will be last like a normal boss would be. Still have not had a death on my Dancer. That's pretty good. 6 Chronicles in.
Battle 3.
It's
Fight.
kind of what I expect and hope, but I've had a couple of close calls here, so I'm glad that none of them have ruined out yet. Although, I shouldn't have talked too quickly yet. That was a nice alternate hit.
It looks like I got lucky.
Apparently now I have to make a Lizard Man Miguel's in Soul Calibur 6. Okay, so we're kicking the crap out of Dalkia, but all of a sudden the Haltese Republic declares war on us, and so the Emperor orders us to retreat from Dalkia and counterattack Haltese instead. And Abilia is left behind in charge of the invasion force, so essentially our units are upset because she's getting all the glory while we're exhausted and now having to march to another battle. However, we are helped out by reinforcements in the form of General Gerardo, who decides he's just, he's got enough leisure time as general of the whole Grand All Army that he's going to submit himself as a soldier under our command to help us out with this, with our invasion of Haltese mission. Glad to know you got a lot of time on your hands in the middle of 2 wars, Gerardo. This is a slightly tricky mission. Because for the most part, the enemies here are programmed to come charging towards me. So I manipulate that to run straight through the middle and have all these guys on the sides chasing after me. And fortify the structures behind me so that they'll never reach me.
Battle 1. Fight.
It's a bit amusing to look at the map during loading screens once I'm far in, because you'll see the stream of them following after me as if it's some sort of old Cops and Robbers show, or, you know, a Looney Tunes chase scene.
I'm itching.
Battle 2. Fight.
You should really give up. It looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next time.
Trying to manipulate many different units in a timely fashion is sometimes a little bit more stressful than it looks. A lot of these units, since your units stop when they're under attack and they can't move till they deal with an enemy, and fighting takes so long, sometimes you're dealing with inches, millimeters, pixels, whatever you want to measure it for, that can mean the difference between a minute time lost or not. Okay, oh, I forgot to build that one up. I'll have to not forget this time. Okay, Rock is our character here. He's a gladiator for some reason. I don't know why they needed both Nightmare and Astaroth as barbarians and not make Rock a barbarian, but whatever, he's a gladiator. He also has a really awesome secondary outfit. Take a look at this coming up right here.
Final battle.
Glorious Elephant Head. He has a really good helmet in pretty much every Soul Calibur he's in.
It's over. It was a good match.
Willingness to fight is not courage. Whoops, didn't go far enough. That's a little bit of time there. Yes, I can. Good. Yep. We're not done with them either. There are a couple of more secondary outfits that just look absolutely glorious. Look at them all converging right on the middle here.
Decisive battle.
Okay, this is one of the first maps where I kind of expect to lose my dancer if things have not been going great. for the rest of this fight if she's lost too many hit points, because we are on ice here. Ice physics are always super glorious in every video game, and they really suck in Soul
Battle
Calibur
1.
3.
Fight.
Luckily, Spin to Win is still relatively effective. It tends to spin me around enough that I don't go in multiple directions, but it's still hard to maintain the stun lock. As I said, I have a really good chance of dying here.
Battle 2. Fight.
That was the skin of the teeth ring out.
I'm sorry, but I must
She went out
move
like
on.
1 pixel before I did. Wow. So Halfus is the commander of this group, and he's not in the main stronghold. He says, sorry, but I'm not to die yet. Setting up a minor story plot in the end of this chronicle. You're playing casually or on a fresh file run, by the way. Gerardo joins at level 15. Again, the levels of my characters. 15 is really high level character, so he's pretty useful actually in a normal run. Some of them have given up. He's like, man, that's too far, I'm not going to try. Yep. Luckily, there are no water levels or escort missions in Soul Calibur 3. Ice level, ice platform is it. So now this character named Mooncalf has suddenly appeared, and she has apparently killed Halfus. It is implied that I am killing you. And says that the country needs to be destroyed, but we're not allowed. We aren't good enough to destroy Halti's Republic. It's up to her. Okay.
Battle 1. Fight.
That's awesome. It's interesting that they give you some default names, too. I can't believe I made it through that without losing my
It looks
character.
like I won
Holy
today,
cow.
But who knows what'll happen next time?
So, Mooncalf, her name and fighting style, and hair color actually, all give a suggestion of something that is hinted at various points in this, the next few chronicles. But now, the Haltese Republic is being invaded by these forces of Meleta. Meleta is apparently a province of the Haltese Republic. They've suddenly rebelled, and they're saying they're in charge of the whole Republic now, and the Haltese soldiers are being slaughtered. So, we have to rescue them, or just prevent them from dying. There are 5 characters. 3 of them are named. 2 of them are generic. The 3 named characters have the potential to join us. The commander always will, whether we save her or she dies or whatever. The other 2 will only join if you actually save them. Which, you know, isn't a big deal here since I never use anybody but my created characters. Oh, I didn't do this one right either. Oh well. One of the things, this is a very weird chronicle because even though one of the main loss conditions is losing the Haltese soldiers, you'd expect that, especially when you spread out and first played a few games and spread your characters out, trying to rescue them all in time, you see that they come under attack and they'll die quickly if you don't rescue them, and you think that the objective of the enemies is to find and eliminate the Haltese soldiers. It's not. They ignore the Haltese soldiers if they can, and they head straight for you.
Battle 1. Fight.
Is that what this is? Sounds legit.
I'm sorry, but I must move on.
So by having all my characters in this clumped group, the enemies will actually totally ignore the Haltese soldiers, except for the ones that are in their path trying to get to me, so these 2 up here, and they'll just head straight for me. The good news is I don't have to worry about Haltese soldiers being attacked. The bad news is I have to deal with all these people myself, which means a lot of battles and a lot of load times.
Fate. Final battle. Fight.
It was a decent match.
Okay, only about 7 or 8 guys to go through. I don't think I've adjusted any map strategy more times than this one, and even so, there's so many little tweaks and just small differences that I rarely ever do it right. Of course, I actually haven't played this mode in a couple months either, so I'm slightly rusty on a lot of these secondary choices that I usually make. Darn it, having to wait. One of the weird things about this game is that as you're moving around on the map, it is actually divided into squares that units will enter. And so if another unit is starting to enter a square, that square is counted as occupied, and so the enemy unit going to meet them has to stop and wait for them to fully occupy the square before they will be able to start fighting. And you can't start the battle until they actually start swinging their swords at each other. Which, especially when I'm in a hurry in a speedrun, is very annoying, because I'm trying to start that battle as soon as possible. Especially when I want to not waste more time so I can try and fight all the enemies at once in a stronghold rather than have yet more battles on the field stop my movement, as they did there. Is that so? Yeah, I've been in a lot of marathons recently. I'm been fortunate with that.
Battle 1. Fight.
This is the fun one, though. This is just a quick little fun thing in celebration of Soul Calibur 6.
It was a decent match.
This was actually the Chronicle where I discovered that bandits were really good for completing the Chronicle of the Swords. Before, I just used infantry because they were average. I wasn't sure really how much their low stats would make a difference. And then when I got to this Chronicle, of course, I was trying to 100% complete everything that I could, and I was very frustrated because I could never save all the characters, especially Canon here. Canon would always get killed. I could never reach her in time because my infantry couldn't destroy the buildings fast enough. So I looked at the bandits and it's like, well, they're better in both speed and destroying buildings to infantry, so maybe that'll make me fast enough. And indeed they were. And I was so impressed by their speed that I just decided I wasn't going to go back anymore. Okay, Mooncalf 2.
Decisive battle.
MK Bunny is my sister, by the way.
Battle 1. Fight.
Both of my younger sisters have grown up watching me play video games and have always been my biggest fans and supporters. They'd sit and watch me play for hours. And most especially, MK Bunny is my biggest fan of this particular game. We would spend hours playing this game together. She would make a bunch of characters, and then I would actually play the game and defeat Chronicles of the Sword for her.
Battle. battle, fight.
It's over.
Setsuka! Characters only appeared in Soul Calibur 3 and 4.
It's over. It's over.
So far, at least.
It's over.
She is a ninja in the game, which is a rather low-level class. They're one of the best of the starting 6 classes. Pretty good attack and agility. Not too bad hit points and defense. Still better than the Thief and the Dancer. They're basically stat-wise superior in every way, at least a little, to the Dancer and Thief. Yep. Yep. Okay, now I have to get the rest of my characters going to attack the main stronghold. Come on. Once again, that's everything getting out of order. You really lose track of where your L1 and R1 buttons are located when you have to do a battle in the middle of trying to give them orders. Now is our first battle against Heil, the primary general of Moletta. We get to fight him 3 wonderful Chronicles in a row, and he gets more annoying and more dangerous every time. Oh, poor Cannon bit the dust.
Decisive battle. Battle 1. Fight.
Isle is being brutal today. Okay, well, not a bad place for the first death of the Dancer. I don't lose too much time, especially since he got rid of me so quickly. Since this is the last fight, the earlier in a Chronicle you lose a character, the more time you lose, because then that's that much more recovery time. You have to wait for them before they're active again, and then their time that they're not spending attacking other strongholds. And of course, more opportunities for other characters to die as well. I did try to submit this 2 years ago. It didn't make it. I didn't last year because this past year for 2018 because I was in a little bit of financial difficulty and I didn't have the money to spend all that time at the on-site. I wanted to not have the stress of it even there, so I just took it easy during the week of RPG Limit Break. But this upcoming, I'm going to be submitting it both to RPG Limit Break. I'm also going to submit to SGDQ as well. My financial situation has improved a little bit. I can even take a plane to Minnesota for SGDQ if I actually get in. Hopefully someday. From now on, as long as I have the money, I'm going to keep trying to submit it until it gets accepted. Oh yes, this is our first Chronicle with... Nope, not quite. Our first Chronicle with 5 characters. AGDQ would be really hard. SGDQ would also be hard, but, you know, I figure it's worth it. I don't lose anything by submitting for the most part. I'm also going to be submitting my D&D Pool of Radiance run to RPG Limit Break. That has a much better chance of making it, but I really would want... if I had my choice, I would prefer to run this, actually, because this is, more than anything else, really my run.
Final battle, fight.
Yeah, GDQs are really... GDQs are really hard for certain runs and stuff. They always try to do things that are really popular and a lot of shorter runs so they can get as many people in as possible. So the longer the game is, the harder it is to get into GDQ. But hey, no, I'm still going to try. I wouldn't mind going to ESA too, but that's too expensive for me since I'm stateside. I'd love to go back to Europe though. not doing that, right? Just want to go there for now. Yeah, running two different accounts at once, the same Twitch channel is interesting. But yeah, are you in Minnesota, Gooby? So on this map, we have two different colors. We're fighting Mileta, but Mileta has signed an agreement with Dalkia. They're really consistent with the colors in this game. The same colors are always from the same faction. Yellow is always Dalkia. So now they've allied, and Luna and her forces have come at the primary group. So,
Entrust battle 1.
you know, when last we saw Dalkia, we had taken out most of their forces, and Abelia was in charge of mopping them up. But all of a sudden, they have enough troops to send to fight against us in Mileta. So obviously, Abelia is totally dropping the ball on getting
Battle 2.
on taking care of the rest of Dalkia. Obviously, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. So we fight the Cluster Pemdo here. It's the only time you fight them outside of their strongholds, basically. Unless you really manipulate things in Chronicles 6, you potentially could, but...
Battle 3. Fight.
But yeah, if I make it to SGDQ in Minnesota, yeah, maybe we can meet up there. Phew, yeah. Talk about that, and then you talk about the rest of your travel expenses and the hotel and everything. That's way expensive. RPG Limit Break I can attend almost every year because it's a 3-hour drive from where I live. In fact, that's where my sister MK Bunny lives, is down in Salt Lake City. So I can just go and spend most of the week, you know, in one of her guest bedrooms, in her guest bedroom, and
Battle 5.
then go over to the marathon. Done that a couple times.
Where are you going? That was pathetic. Goodbye.
Okay, we'll see. That's cool. I think it's good that more Americans are going there, since we have so many foreigners who still do come to the GDQs. I'm gonna wait a little bit. And another condition here of not wanting to take the stronghold too quickly, so that I can get more enemies in and fight them all at once, if possible. More international this community is, though, the better.
Battle 1. Fight. Knockout. Battle 2. Fight. Knockout. Battle 3. Fight.
The things that your characters say when you spam attacks in this game are some of the very best, I think.
Battle 4.
How rude, and did I do it? And this is your end. You're open. This is another map as well where I do have to fight every enemy. I can't just take the main stronghold, or else I'd go a lot faster just taking out the main. But I have to spread out a bit so I can fight everybody. $11 to $12, nice. Yep. I hope that now with Soul Calibur 6 bringing Soul Calibur back into the public image, we'll get a lot of people pick up that to start speedrunning it. Once I'm done thoroughly enjoying the Libra of Souls, I'm going to start working on the speedrun for that. And I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one this time. Also, the complications that arise from categories like this one I have, where I'm technically kind of sort of doing a New Game Plus, and so it's different than when some people imagine, aren't going to apply, since Libra of Souls is actually, each new game is going to be separate from every other new game.
2. Final battle. Fight.
It looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next time?
We got a little bit of lore at the beginning of this that kind of talked about Mooncalf. Apparently she was nobility in Haltese, and her daughter was taken from her because it's the Haltese Republic, but it used to be a kingdom just like the rest before the peasants revolted and overthrew the aristocracy and the nobility. And she lost her daughter. Her daughter, is done. And so later, a couple of other things that are going to happen down the line here get the suggestion that Luna is actually her daughter. Something that's it's pretty much one of those never exactly confirmed, but essentially facts.
Battle.
Of course, the fact that Mooncalf in next Chronicle, her dying words are, she utters Luna's name, seems to suggest that. So apparently Luna was taken from her and then somehow recovered by Dalkia. Who knows, maybe she was just stolen by somebody and then sold to Dalkia or something. Or it's a Moses-like thing, she was shipped down a river and recovered by Dalkia, who knows. She doesn't know anything about that, though. So you'd think that all unblockable battles would be difficult, because you can't rely on the primary defense, but again, just like Seasoner with Soul Calibur 2, I play an aggressive style that doesn't block or anything anyway, so I don't care about the fact that I can't block.
Battle 3. Fight.
Even against Heil, who is a pretty good AI If he decides to punish me, like with stuff like that, I'm pretty much doomed, but luckily he isn't super duper aggressive like he should be with all unblockable. On very few occasions when I'm playing this game where I get to use all unblockable, I am super duper aggressive because, hey, you can't be punished if they can't block, especially if you use attacks that are really hard to dodge. So one final Chronicle against Meleta, or Melita, or however you want to pronounce their kingdom name. Randall and Dalkia are the only two that are mentioned by name by any character, and that's actually in this Chronicle. Although I guess the narrator does say the Haltese Republic. Haltese almost sounding like it's a Gundam from Gundam Wing. Okay, Chronicle 5, one of the toughest and most annoying Chronicles in the game. There's a lot of named characters here, no generics. All these characters are named. They have good AI, they're really strong. We have a really difficult two difficult strongholds to go through, especially since we're playing SC%. On any percent, this isn't too bad, because all we have to do is head straight down the middle, but the worst Soul Calibur character is, at least for Chronicles of the Sword, is present on this map. That is Sangmina, who happens to be my favorite Soul Calibur character, but she's definitely my least favorite in Chronicles of the Sword, because she's over here in this stronghold right here, where it's ice. And her AI is programmed to take advantage of the ice physics. Like, she does nothing but simple, quick, easy to, hard to punish attacks that are really hard to punish here, because if you block, you still get thrown way backwards. We have a lot of lag going on this map from all the, just how big it is and all the particle effects. There are a couple of fires burning and stuff. They apparently take a lot of the PS2's power. Now, good, that's 1. 2, excellent. So these two horsemen right here have some of the weirder AIs in the game. They are very subtly triggered by the position of units, and so I can't perfectly control them because it's very, very frame-based and how many frames it takes before you get from one character to the next. But if I do it right, they will both decide to charge forward and ignore me, while if I do it wrong, if I do my orders wrong, they may both decide to fall back and defend this stronghold, and that's 2 extra guys I have to defeat.
A pathetic cur like you dares to take on this country, this king?
Battle 1.
So Demuth is the king of Mileta, or so he thinks. Although he's the first boss we're fighting in the whole map, so he's just been the stooge for this other mysterious figure who it's the same bandit we fought back in Chronicle 3. Here we learn his name is Chester, and he's going to describe everything for us when we encounter him. Heil is still loyal to King Demuth, however, so we have to deal with Heil here as well. And Heil is a big pig. The mission here is offense down, meaning we do a lot less damage. As you can see, I am doing chip damage with this attack that, you know, just a few Chronicles ago was 2 or 3 shotting my enemies. When I first started playing the game, I thought the Dancer might be too weak for the later levels of the game, and so I had everybody just as Sword Masters. But I had so much trouble with the Heil fight and with several other things, I decided maybe it's worth it to try one Dancer and see how they do. And I wasn't super impressed with how the Dancer was doing compared to the Swordmaster until I got to this Chronicle. And defeating Heil is so much easier with the Dancer than with a katana-wielding Swordmaster that this is what convinced me I had to stick with this strat. There are a few other places as well, but that fight particularly gets really bad. And it's not hard to stay alive because the Swordmaster with katana is just such a powerful class weapon combination. But Heil just blocks and blocks and blocks the shoulder charge, and anything else you try gets severely punished. Now, interesting thing about the game is I mentioned that there are squares in the game. Only 5 units of the same faction can occupy a single square at the same time. So notice there's 8 guys charging me here. So I'm waiting for them inside this stronghold, both for safety and to try and just maximize the group of them that I can fight at once while minimizing risk. But if the other 3 arrive, they will actually wait a square behind and won't attack the stronghold until either the stronghold is taken and they move through it and I can advance, or they're defeated so that the way is open. So it's generally better just to start the battle as soon as the 5 are in position rather than waiting for the other 3 as well, and then wait for those 3 on the next round. You can fight more than 5 enemies at once if they come from multiple directions. But from the same direction, 5 is the limit. Yep, gotta go fast.
Fight. Battle 3. Fight. Final battle. Fight.
Ultra kill. Rampage. Yeah, you're always limited. You'll never get more than 5 characters in a Chronicle, and sometimes you'll face 20 or 30 enemies. It's...
Listen, I just can't afford to lose.
That's a good question. Teach you that if you have the mad exploit skills, you too can be a one-woman army who takes down everybody, no matter how many enemies there are. Might think there's a danger of those guys charging and taking my main stronghold, but they get bored after a bit and do nothing. Okay. That is very true. It never gives you the option to think for yourself, but after a while, that's what your character realizes they should be doing. So, how did that not hit her while she was on the ground?
Battle 2. Fight. Final battle.
It's a fighting game, so obviously the main portion of it's going to be doing a lot of fighting. Of course, since it's a speed run, most of the morals or teaching you'd get out of the story that's trying to be conveyed gets lost since we ignore most of the dialogue because we gotta go fast.
Listen, I just can't afford to lose.
Okay. Sung Mina, gasp! You sure look easy to beat.
Decisive battle.
Yep. There are a lot of... That's very much in the flavor of tactical RPGs like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, Ogre Battle, Shining Force 2 even. Oh, I can't believe I didn't go out there. Okay. Okay, I think I got it. Whew, that was close.
You should really give up. It looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next time.
Yes, that is very true. That's most games. Speedruns are definitely not there to teach you anything except how to go fast. Good fight, though. Chronicle 10 is often horrible, but this one went very, very, very well, so. Except for my orders giving because of how the weird way the D-pad tracks on these maps is. Kierke's is... We'll encounter Kierke's once more. I don't know if he's from Dalkia. We'll fight him with Dalkia later on. I don't know if he's from Dalkia or if he's a mercenary just working for Chester or what, who comes after us for revenge then, but whatever, this is our first encounter with him.
Final battle, fight.
Goodbye.
Take good care of yourself.
Yes, sometimes. Very occasionally I have to use the Gerardo cutscene in this for a quick break. Alright, just Chester left, and then we'll have defeated Maletta. And now, they're going to stay there. They only have one more stronghold to take, and then they could beat me. But they're tired. Meanwhile, I just have to take out Maletta here. Final stronghold.
Decisive battle.
All right. Surprised? Well, it's just as you see. I must protect this country. I have this brilliant plan of pitting Grandal and Dalkia against one another, and then rise to power during the resulting chaos. But because of your unexpected meddling, my plan is in ruins. You will pay dearly for this.
Oh, will I?
One, fight.
Death number 2. But it's the very last battle means that it's not all that big a deal, especially since it was a one-shot. That's going to be Chester's shining moment of accomplishment during the entire run, I think. Because Chester is just weak. Dagger is not a very strong weapon. It's kind of fun to play casually because you can just spam throwing bombs at the enemy, and they're hard to block and do good damage and are in range. But the AI isn't smart enough to do anything like that. They use a bunch of other weak attacks. The dagger is low damage, short range, and not nearly fast enough for a short range weapon. That is really crazy. So Chester, yes, he manipulated the whole war. He arranged for Dalkia and Grandal to go to war. Then he was going to take over Haltis and possibly us too in their chaos. But unfortunately, because we are super duper awesome super fighters, we overcame all of his plans and the armies of 3 countries, essentially. Now we have to return to Dalkia to pull Abilia's bacon out of the fire, because she's totally incompetent. So here's our final battle against Luna and her Cluster Pemdo. Very annoying little Chronicle. And so here you see the full force of their elements in effect. Loopy is the Flames of Hell, as she declares herself. She has Cruel Sword. All of these missions in the 4 Cluster Pendo spots are actually dual missions that are 2 different effects combined. The one is All Unblockable and Blast, which Blast causes extreme knockback, and Cruel Sword, and of course All Unblockable means they're all unblockable. So she has the potential to be really nasty. Platinum percent Final Fantasy 13. Wow. Yeah.
Fight.
You should really give up. I'm sorry, but I must move on.
What, you figured it had to be a Final Fantasy? There are some really long games out there that even speedruns are not short of. One of the other new games I've been enjoying recently is Pathfinder Kingmaker, but I have no idea how long that speedrun would be. That would probably be at least 12 hours because of all the time you have to spend, even if you put the kingdom on auto, which you would almost certainly do in the speedrun. Next up is Hildo, who is of water. She has Sacred Field, which is a combination of ice and cure. Luckily, Hildo is trash AI, so she generally is not very hard, even though she's on ice. Every once in a while things will go bad, but for the most part, she isn't a problem. Wow.
Battle 1. Fight.
My longest one is about 5 hours, at least right now. I might have a couple of longer ones in the near or semi-near future, depending on how much effort I put into getting them routed out, but I've also got a couple more marathons I'm doing this upcoming next month and in the next month, so I've done a lot of marathons since about May. I've been in a lot of them. Oh yeah, the really long-a-thon. Yeah. Okay, Holy Wings. Eloa is of wind, and so she has Holy Wings, which is a combination of Whirlwind that we've seen. It's a really powerful Whirlwind, pushes us around, as well as Aerial Wind, which is one of those you float in the air after getting hit by a knock-up attack.
Decisive battle.
We almost never see that knock-up effect, though, because Eloa has almost no skills in her moveset that cause you to go flying into the air, and she almost never uses the ones she does have.
Battle 1. Fight.
And again, she also is... The Whirlwind is slightly troublesome, but for the most part... See, because of my being pushed around, it sometimes blows me out of the way so that my follow-up attacks miss, which is inconvenient, but... Again, Eloa likes to do a lot of high attacks that don't do anything at all, so... That was one of the worst fights I've had against her in this spot.
But who knows what'll happen next time?
Okay, now, next up is the bad one. AG of Earth has Impregnable, which is a combination of Quake, which has been around, but I managed to skip so far. Every 3 seconds in a Quake map, the ground rocks, and if you're standing and not blocking, you will get hit by the Quake and get stunned for a few seconds. In addition, she has Guardian Force. That's the other aspect of it, which we haven't seen yet, but we will become very familiar with here soon. Guardian Force is terrible. It means that it is the worst mission you can possibly have because it means the enemy is not affected by almost anything. Attack throws, if you can get any off, are the only things that will stun her or do anything. Otherwise, she isn't affected when she blocks. She isn't affected by you hitting her. She just will swing right through and counter hit you. I have no idea how that happened, because that was silly. Luckily, she has horrible stats, and her weapon causes damage to her when she swings it, so her health depletes well enough. I usually lose one character to her. Those rare moments where I can lose none are really good. But I lose one here. That wasn't too bad.
2, fight!
That's twice in one battle. Somehow the guard impact trigger
This fight was decided by
twice.
fate.
I think I've seen that once before in the entire thousands of hours I put into this game, where during that guard impact from the run just happened to hit. It's almost impossible to get guard impact from that charge. Wow. Okay, so lost one character and immediately one afterwards. This is a pretty good Chronicle 11. If I can get a sub 2 hour Chronicle 12, I clear Chronicle 12 in sub 2 hours, I'll be on really good pace. So Luna has only one ability. Reserve Offense Up is one of the most subtly dangerous missions. What it means is that your attack power goes up as your hit points go down. So if you get them really, really low but don't quite finish them off, and they manage to get a combo going on you, they will just devastate you, especially somebody weak like a dancer. So, but for the most part, Luna's pretty easy.
So
And we'll
you
hear that
come.
line again many times
This
over the
time,
next couple
it
of
will not be like our
Chronicles.
previous encounters. See if you can defeat this sword.
This sword. Yes, she has Soul Calibur. Holy cow, you mean there actually is a plot in this game involving Soul Calibur and Soul Edge? Yes, sort of. They mention it. How she got her hands on it, we don't know, but she thinks it's enough to beat me. It isn't. Because I also have Soul Calibur, not that that affects the story at all.
Did you enjoy my dance?
Hello there, Ellie Naomi. Naomi? So we've defeated Luna, but we haven't seen the last of her exactly. Yeah, what? So now is our final battle against Dalkia. We've saved Abilia. Abilia's rejoined our group. This is a really weird mission because of where our strongholds are located. Let's see. 2, 3, 1 as well. There are a couple of different things I try to do, and they never seem to work out the way I expect. We'll see what this does. Sometimes in some of these Chronicles, when I still haven't figured out the totally optimal way, I'm like a mad scientist. What does this button do? Sara will get to defend. Okay, that's fine. Should have Kento doing it. Kento's really low on experience now. So is Akane, but Akane is about to gain some levels. Okay, that's a thing. They're mostly trying to go after my main character, so naturally they're all going down here. This actually might be the best option yet. I think this is going to work out beautifully. Occasionally, these mad scientist ideas really, really work out. I actually could have waited even farther, maybe? Maybe not.
Battle 1, fight! Fight!
Come on, don't be mad just because I put you in the water.
Knockout! Battle 2, fight!
Ratsael is obviously a knight. Knights have, except for sword masters who are gods, the best hit points and defense in the game, so they take very little damage. You can see how much chip damage I'm doing to this guy. Rapier is one of the abilities of knights. Speaking of which, Raphael is also a knight class, and he is in this chronicle, one of the 2 Soul Calibur characters in this one.
Final battle. Fight.
We, of course, didn't have any last chronicle. It's the one chronicle that's exactly the same no matter what kind of route you're running, basically.
Fight.
Except for, you know, your own characters you have. But you have to run straight through that line. There's no deviations, no alternate paths, no side characters.
Did you really expect to get the better
Just
of
straight
my
through.
blade?
This one, is, on the other hand, is totally opposite. It's got 2 Soul Calibur characters on opposite sides of the map again, the main enemy base to charge through the middle, and lots of enemies all spread around and places to go through. This is really a chaotic chronicle. It's a little bit easier on any percent because you can just group up and charge through the middle. But having to split your characters out to the 2 Soul Calibur characters makes it slightly different, we shall say. Oh, he's not quite going to make it. He did, just barely. Good, excellent. Okay, he's heading that way, which is slightly annoying, but not a huge deal.
Battle 1. Fight.
The enemies are generally ahead of you in experience. My main character's done most of the fighting. She's level 30, far higher than most of my other characters, and all of these enemies I'm fighting, who aren't even the biggest bosses, are still higher level than her. Of course, the generic enemies are much lower level. They're like, even now, around 11 or 12 is all. That guy's a sage, who are also really good on defense. They're next to knights and sword masters in both defense and hit points.
Battle 3. Fight.
I love taunt commands. I like to use them when the battle's over and I have nothing else to do because I like to do something. I just like hearing the dialogue.
Fight.
Ouch. Carcass. Level 49.
Fight.
It looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next
Oh, that's
time.
what'll make it. One or both of these is probably going to have to fight Jury here. Oh wow, she's fast. She's only an infantry? Why is she going that way? Fascinating. She's faster than my bandits. That's incredible. I've never noticed before, but she must have exceptionally high movement speed for some reason. Oh, alright. Well, I hope you aren't spoiled too much by the spoilers, my gals. Let's see, we have almost 2 hours left. Roughly 2 hours left, so...
Battle. Fight.
Yeah, I might make it to dinner.
Take good care of yourself.
About 3:15 here. 3 in the afternoon. Oh, now she's decided to go back. Okay, whatever. Sometimes I don't understand these AIs. Okay, Cassandra is a sage. So is her sister, Sophitia. Sophitia got a sex change. Is his brother now? No. Sophitia and Cassandra are both sages. Sages are, again, one of the more powerful classes. Cassandra's mostly just annoying. There's a cure effect in this, which, because it's a low-level stronghold, it affects both of us, which is kind of convenient. But it means that takes a little bit longer to beat her because her health is constantly coming back. But if she does damage to me, my health is also constantly coming back, so it's really hard for her to beat me.
Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it?
Okay, that's a funny joke. I didn't do it.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Real late over there in Europe. Okay. I've often commented about the secondary outfits being really nice for the most part for many of these characters, and a lot of them really funny. Cassandra's is actually one of my least favorites of her outfits. She often has colorful blue or green outfits, you know, interesting, cute, maybe just a little bit sexy. That's kind of nice, but that one's just, I don't like the brown, and it seems like it's trying a little bit too hard.
Decisive battle.
So that ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4 battles.
Battle
Not
one.
bad for all those
Fight.
guys. Oops. Ah. Oh jeez, that was bad. Assassins have really high attack power, again. She's obviously an assassin. A pirate wouldn't do that much damage to me. Those are the two classes that can use the Chinese sword.
Battle 2. Fight.
Going to have to build up this stronghold so that I recover closer.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
But I died there mostly because my I was just slightly misclicking. I use L1 to go into the spin and R1, hold R1 to come out of the spin, and if I don't do it, I've got a pretty good rhythm most of the time doing it instantly, but if my right finger is slightly faster than my left finger, I go into her other one, her wild spin there, and that's a not very effective attack, especially under the circumstances. Oh, I need to... too late. Yes, that is very much the case. And again, unlike, you know, Weapon Master or Battle Master, a bunch of the other versions of this game, you can't just refight a battle in Chronicles of the Sword. Your character's gone and they will eventually recover, but that loses you a lot of time in the speedrun. Playing casually, it's not as big a deal because you actually get experience for losing, not as much as for winning. But you actually get more experience if you lose a lot and then win, as long as you know you defeat every enemy, because you'll get the bonus experience from the losses, and there's only a limited number of enemies to fight. Come on, I'm trying to fight here. So unfortunately, these people come charging at me one at a time, but luckily, I can take advantage of this enemy. For the most part, enemies will sit and engage you in combat on the field, but there are a few who will automatically start combat with you when you run into them. Any of the Soul Calibur characters who are not inside a stronghold will, those legacy Soul Calibur characters will, ouch, they will automatically start combat with you. In addition, there are a couple of bosses who they will not allow you to cheaply fight on the field with by outnumbering them. They will automatically start Soul Calibur combat with you when you mate you, and Rowan on his horse up here is one of them.
I'm sorry, but I must move on.
Looks like I'm not quite going to get a sub 2 hour Chronicle 12. I think I'm a couple minutes off pace, but not doing too badly. Okay, here's Raphael with his Phantom of the Opera mask. In losing to Nightmare at the end of Soul Calibur 2 and being severely wounded and contaminated by Soul Edge's energy, Raphael has become a vampire-like entity, as a malfested, corrupted by power of Soul Edge. And so they gave that vampire-like theme to his outfit here for his secondary outfit, even though it actually hides his vampire features that you can see in his primary outfit. Can't do anything more with this character, he's too far away. It's actually been a little bit since I was streaming regularly, especially my Soul Calibur. The last few streams I've done have been for the D&D, AD&D's Pool of Radiance, because that's what I've been running in most of my recent marathons. After, for my first few marathons, just running Chronicles of the Sword here. So nice balance there. I'm gonna try to get into doing some more Soul Calibur runs here once I've satiated myself a bit with Soul Calibur 6.
Final battle, fight!
Oh yeah, both of them were. Pool of Radiance and Soul Calibur were accepted for the Distant Star Cares Extra Life Marathon. I'm going to be running that early morning Sunday, like 12 o'clock midnight my time, so that's going to be normal morning your time, probably. I'll be running them right in a row, so that's going to be a good long marathon for me. Just got a new PB on D&D this morning from little sound tech that very advanced technology of using the command to turn off the sound and saving sound lag in that old game. And then a couple of other things gave me a good PB there, but I need to get back into the habit of Soul Calibur. I don't need to. I haven't played the game in like 2 months now, really, and still doing this. Since the last marathon I was in with it, I haven't played it. But, you know, this is very... but if I want to do the best I can with it, I do need to. There are a couple little mistakes I'm making because I'm not used to it, so I ought to practice it a little bit more again so that I can get back into the feel of some of the harder things. And yeah, D&D was accepted into Questing for Glory, the Pool of Radiance game, but not this one, sadly. Still not getting to show our
So, you've come.
fighting game role-playing games at a role-playing game marathon, but
Worthless servant of strife, you shall pay with your blood. For daring to defy me.
oh yeah, that line again. So you've
One.
come.
Fight.
There's one more. Oh wow, Aurelia hit me. Holy cow. Aurelia is the easiest boss in the game. I've never lost to her. She's just so much trash.
It was a decent match.
That was a decent hit. It took like only a tenth of my life, and I'm a weak dancer. Her stats are like horrible. Impossible, rave, rave, rave. So, that's it. We defeated Dalkia. We defeated... Haltis was destroyed by Mileta, and we defeated Mileta, so there's nobody left on the continent except for us. It's all over, right? I mean, obviously, no one left to fight. The Grand All Empire rules supreme. Oh wait, what's this? A year has passed, we're in charge of the army now, and General Gerardo's raising a rebellion against the Empire. Holy cow. How could General Gerardo betray the Empire? He must have a reason. Let's go beat him up. So 3 Soul Calibur characters in this map. Annoyingly, they've restricted us to 4 characters instead of 5 after spending several missions with 5 characters. Yeah, almost. Although, my Questing for Glory one is Wednesday night, so... right before a small vacation I've taken to watch the rest of the marathon. But I've been running in a bunch of them recently, yeah. Pretty busy schedule. Which I think is one of the reasons why I haven't been regularly streaming as often. I've been trying to recover. So Keelik and Xianghua are together down here in this stronghold. And Maxi is up here. So we have almost as many Soul Calibur characters as we have party members on the map. So you want to talk about being outnumbered. They're all of low classes. Dancer, Xianghua, of course, is a dancer, which is a trash class. So even at level 60, she's not that bad. Keelik and Maxi are both the monks, as you might expect. Also, Spoony Bard alert. But, oh, come on, you were supposed to go over. There we go. Perfect, that's oh, but I have a cure effect, of course. So monks have a lot of hit points and a decent attack, but the rest of their stats are trash, so they, just like barbarians, they tend to go down really fast when you start hitting them. Unlike this woman, who is a high defense knight. I love that kick.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
So Maxi has all unblockable, which sounds like it should be really threatening on a level 60 Soul Calibur character, but because he's Maxi, he just mostly spins his nunchuck around a lot without doing attacks. That's always the thing that's frustrated me about Maxi, is that he should be a really fast character, and some of his attacks come out really fast, and then he goes into those moments where he's going between stances and just spinning his nunchuck around, and it's like, seriously? Yes, he could be.
Decisive battle.
We have one more on this map too, named Leshy.
Battle 1. Fight.
It looks like I got lucky.
Taking 2 strongholds is the trigger that will now cause all of these enemies to start to attack me. Which is why I should have waited a little bit with him. Oh well. Which is the reason why I built up that 1 stronghold, so that it can withstand the invading force while I'm busy taking care of Maxley with those 2. And then I'll come back that way afterwards.
Final battle. Fight.
You can't get away.
Ah, good. When I once again did the wrong spin, that ruined my chance of starting off my combo, so I have to get lucky to go off.
Enjoy my dance.
Also, that phrase pose combination is just one of my favorites. It just seems fitting. Oh, good. Okay, so a lot of action going on, but not a lot to do with it at the moment while we wait. Reserve offense up again means that these 2 are potentially dangerous. For the most part, I'm in low danger, sending just 1 character, which I sometimes will do on PB attempts. But just because of how things go, it ends up not being that much faster, oddly. Because with 1 character, she's pretty much eliminated from helping out at all once she comes here, but the 2 of them will finish fast enough to come back and help push through to the final stronghold.
Battle 1. Fight.
Did I do it? You can't. You're...
Battle 2. Fight.
Did I do it?
Did I do it?
I think I did it.
Fight.
Did I do it?
One of the guest characters, sort of, in the game is Namco Bandai's Xenosaga character, Cosmos, who's also appeared in other Xeno games, I believe, but at the time of the PS era, PS2 had sole rights to the Xenosaga part that was coming through there. So her parts exist in the Create a Soul for females, so you can make Cosmos. And of course, because they're not fitting, none of the Cosmos parts are used in the custom characters for the Chronicle of the Sword, except for her hair. The girl we just fought is one of, I think, 3 characters in the game, 2 or 3, who has that hairstyle.
Did I do it? It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
It's the rebels, sir. They're here. They're here. Do they want tea? No, you need to say that line for Chronicles 16, MK Bunny, when we join the rebels. Side effect of building this up, of course, is that if I lose any characters to any random chance, it means that I will I'll recover much closer to the action. Hopefully, though, I don't have to rely on that.
Battle 1. Fight.
Did I do it? Goodbye.
Battle 2. Fight.
Did I do it? Did I do it?
Ring out.
Oosh.
Fight.
Did I do it?
When I was playing casually, I never used that spinning jump kick. I figured it out fairly early into my speedrunning career.
Final.
And then for the longest time, I had trouble, though, knowing which I should use versus using a couple of these juggles extra damage juggle attacks are better for just pure damage if I'm not close to an edge. But if I can get them to an edge, the spinning jump kick does a lot less damage, but it pushes them so far. It's good for getting ring outs. You can say we. All of us viewers are a part of this army as well. I need some backup. It's just my 4 characters against the world after all.
Decisive battle.
Yes, we are fighting random characters named Rebels, but I think it's even funnier that the Eddie Izzard line is even funnier come Chronicle 16 with that's the Grandal forces. Sir, it's the Rebels, sir. They're here.
2. Battle 1. Fight.
I don't like the color scheme, but I do like that Chinese robe of Keelik's secondary outfit. I like the fact that you can that they give you one alternate color you can customize for each of the 2 costumes that the main characters have. I can make his robe like white or red, and it looks a lot better. Meanwhile, Xianghua looks something like a Chinese version of a maid. Kind of character, it's the kind of outfit you'd expect to see on the female bodyguard consort of the evil Chinese villain in a Bond movie or something. There you go, Gooby. Backseat game it up. Tell me how I'm not spinning to win enough. Needs more shoulder charge. Yeah, that's fine. Whoops.
Decisive battle. Battle 1. Fight.
You can be the Spoony Bard Leshy here, Gooby. Oh wait, that's the enemy. One of the other things about ring outs is for some reason they load the end battle scenes slightly faster than if they're just automatically KO'd. Even if you knock them out after they've been knocked into the air and take enough damage to KO, it just loads that up slightly faster. Come on. Okay, I stopped the stream and... Okay. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, Brunhild is the as a long-range weapon. Cervantes before in that Soul Calibur mission where you're getting pushed back. No, that's nothing compared to the mission here, because not only are you getting pushed back strongly, but this character, Brunhild, has a long-range weapon with that lance.
Battle 1. Fight.
Getting close enough to hit her is really, really hard. And I can't get my spin to win combo up unless she decides to get up into me. And yes, it will push you right off the edge if you're too close to the edge. Whew, that was a fight.
It looks like I got lucky.
I don't know, maybe my computer's rebelling against the fact that I've streamed like 12 hours of gameplay over the past 3 days or something. That's a lot more than I've ever streamed before, I think. Oh well, we're continuing on. Okay, this is an interesting chronicle. The enemies are all extremely weak. There's only one named character besides the 2 Soul Calibur characters, who are the only things that make this chronicle extremely, in any way, dangerous. The one really dangerous thing about it is brand new, and it works generally extremely well in almost everything. But it does have I don't know. It has a couple of issues sometimes. Just there once in a while something weird happens. So today is apparently one of its bad days. But it is handling Soul Calibur 6 super duper well. Other people are complaining of like lag on Xbox One and stuff, and my computer has really slow load times and everything.
It was a good match.
Anyway, back to the storyline here. So we're dealing with so 2 unique things about this chronicle. Number one, it's the first one where we have to make sure our main character doesn't die, which isn't much of a challenge most of the time because, again, most of these enemies are super duper duper weak and we don't care about them. But on the other hand, there are 2 Soul Calibur characters who are extremely strong. Mitsurugi is here in this all guard break spot. He's a samurai. Samurai have the highest attack power of any class in the game. It's even higher than sword masters. And oh darn, I have to do that immediately or else I'm not going to take it down enough. I was not quick enough on the draw this time. Because my characters are in the same spot and this enemy moved to attack me, all 3 of them had to stop and fight rather than attacking the stronghold. So now it's improving, so now I'm going to get extra fights, so now this is going to go slow. Oh well.
Battle 1. Fight.
Did I do it? Goodbye. You can't get away. It's over.
So anyway, Mitsurugi with his super high attack power is dangerous. The other character is Taki, who isn't as dangerous. She's only a ninja, which are much weaker class, but still she has a pretty good AI, so she can be dangerous. So I have to make sure not to fight Mitsurugi with my main character, and I prefer not to fight Taki with my main character either. We'll see if I remember to ignore her or not. To not fight her with my main character. Pop. My favorite voice for this. I just love hearing that question. Did I do it? Every time she makes that attack. It's like, I don't know. Did you? Nice. I haven't actually had lunch yet. My stream started around my lunchtime, so I've only had my 2 breakfasts in me. It's gonna be dinner time when I finish, so I'm starting to get a little on the hungry side. Now here's the other unique thing, is that the characters in the story actually react to the Soul Calibur characters here. Whenever we fight Soul Calibur characters, they always have a line of witty dialogue that's taken from one of their victory or loss conditions and stuff, both before and after you fight them. But nobody else interacts. But for both of these characters, both Mitsurugi and Taki, other people get involved. And it's the only time in the entire game that they do. First, Ignis, the boss of these rebels, tells Mitsurugi, "You can have this one," implying that he's been a mercenary that they hired for this battle. They're not really much in the way of breakfasts. But I eat a lot of small meals rather than 3 big ones that is normal for Americans. Like, my first breakfast was just a liquid instant breakfast. That's literally all it was. And then just had more of a snack for my second breakfast, so.
Battle 3.
Mitsurugi with all guard break is very dangerous. Heavy damage he does. They're mostly offense, but he has enough defense and HP to be not an easy kill, unlike, say, Assassins or Ninja. And you can see how much damage he's doing to me. Ooh. Whew, that was close.
Take heed. I cannot afford to lose.
You hear that, Mitsurugi? I can't afford to lose. That's why I didn't. Okay. When we encounter Taki, Taki and Abilia are going to converse, with Taki implying that Abilia has been possessed with the cursed sword, and so she has to deal with her. Like, okay, Taki, I think your fanaticism's got a little overboard there. Abilia's fanatical herself, a zealot, but... These rebels are so weak. Okay, see you a bit, Gooby.
Final battle. Fight.
You should really give up. Back away. It looks like I won today, but who knows what'll happen next time?
One of the things I'm really glad they did in Soul Calibur 6 is give us a lot more voice lines for our characters. In both 4 and 5, they only had 6 each. And, although there's all sorts of options for increasing the pitch and tone and inflection, it's not that good of a substitute of just having multiple different lines of dialogue to make, you know, a lot more different voices so your characters feel different. Especially since it's really hard to use those tools properly to make a voice that sounds natural.
Battle 1. Fight.
At least it's difficult for me. I don't know. Maybe some people have an easier time with it.
It will be a long time before my
It's
sword
going to
is
be pretty
complete.
good. I don't think you'll be too disappointed. It's especially since I have the particular weapon style I do, it adds a little bonus feature to the ending that's rather interesting. Please get through without being attacked. Nope, not gonna make it. Darn. I might lose Kane here because of that. Oh well. Not a huge deal. Since his recovery point will actually bring further forward anyway.
Final battle. Fight.
Oh, what am I worried about? These are super cheap rebels. Look at the damage they do. I was in no danger. Thanks for the help. I got a little back thanks to you.
You should take better care of your life.
Okay, only 3 enemies left. I fought a lot more than I prefer to, but it means I'm going to be completely safe. Sometimes with this strat, if I don't beat enough enemies or redirect them well enough, they'll go for my main stronghold and defeat it before I take the enemy stronghold. It's hard because they do very weak damage and they're slow, and my stronghold is much stronger than the enemies, but I do have a lot to go through here, and there are sometimes a lot of them. Oh, awesome. Hopefully it'll give me Okay, there we go. Are we back? Are we back? Please? Okay, sorry. Let's try and get this finished. Oh, goodness. Okay, my characters have all changed now. They're totally different. Except for Mikuni, which is a common name I use, if you're wondering. That's okay. We're still continuing on. Hooray for having a random save. So we just finished the last thing, defeated the rebels that were trying to kill us. Now we have our final battle against Gerardo's rebels here. I'm going to have to give a couple orders. I wasn't really on PB pace anyway, so that's the only real problem is that now it definitely is not a regular legit run since I've dropped everything twice, but that's okay. Finishing it's the important thing.
Battle 1. Fight.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm not a dancer in this one though. That's interesting. Okay. This is a really, really old game.
Excuse me.
This is like from a year and a half ago. So now we're going to be spending the rest of the Chronicle in no dancer strats. So Chronicle 15, our final battle against General Gerardo and his rebels. We have two Soul Calibur characters standing in the middle of the map. Boldo's over here. He has a great outfit. Yoshimitsu, way over here. He also has a fantastic outfit. Wait till you see him. Of all the crazy outfits Yoshimitsu had, this is probably his best.
Decisive battle.
I'm just glad this is the first really bad, weird marathon run I've had so far. Otherwise, most of my marathon runs have gone pretty smoothly overall. I wonder if it was... The big problem is that I'm a fidgety person. I always am moving various parts myself. I can never sit still. Even when I'm sitting here playing a game, my feet are constantly in motion. I'm shifting my stance. I'm doing everything. And sometimes,
Listen, I just can't afford
especially when I'm
this.
more excited about stuff like during a run like this, I tend to move about even more. I think even the first thing that happened to my computer, I might have accidentally kicked the power cable to my computer or something. And that might have been what triggered that whole instance. So now I did it, and I hit something that was leaning really close to the surge protector's power button, and so it turned off the surge protector, which had everything connected to it. And that's how I lost everything. So now I need to remember to be more aware of where I'm putting my feet and maybe move some of the stuff around so it's less likely to get kicked. Fun times. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, all four are there now. The really funny thing is that it's about this time when the dancer becomes obsolete, a lot less effective, because the enemies are so high level that they just that they overpower the dancer no matter what level she's at. So, and also they tend to be a lot more aggressive, so it's a lot harder to get the spin to win tactics to work.
Battle 2. Fight. Ring out.
I'll gladly lend a hand.
Battle 3. Fight.
It's time to get rid of you. You're off it. You're out. You're out. You're out.
Final battle. Fight.
It's time to get rid of you. You're out.
Ring out.
This is a very dangerous Chronicle because of, unlike the last Chronicle where I had a much stronger final stronghold than the enemy did, it's the opposite here. My stronghold is very weak, and the enemy's is very strong, so they're just, I have to keep a unit back to defend against the guys charging it, or else I lose my stronghold and everything goes bad there. So there's actually an interesting thing about that, though, in this Chronicle. There are two characters. Feofan, who I fought before, was the first one. Oh boy, is he? There are a couple of characters who have the potential to join you, depending on who you defeat first. Feofan and Rudiger. So whichever one you defeat first joins you, and I don't know what happens if neither one joins you, because they also have talked to you at the beginning of the next Chronicle. But because of the fact that we have so many enemies charging in, I have not figured out a way to avoid both of them and defeat the final stronghold before General Gerardo, or before they take my main stronghold and defeat Gerardo before then. So there's always at least one of them you have to defeat, usually both, because especially on SC percent, there's just too much you have to do and too many strong enemies. You can't let them sit around. Hi Bob, how are you doing, Robert?
Waste my energy.
Okay, now time for Teetering to take out Voldo.
Decisive battle.
Little less, should have a little less than an hour and a half left in the run. And this is Rudiger, the other guy who could potentially join your party. One interesting thing about him is that when it shows characters doing dialogue boxes, it generally shows a screenshot of their face or their head region. So if they're like wearing helmets or stuff, those appear in the portrait. However, when Rudiger talks to us at the beginning of the next Chronicle, if he's the one that we recruit, he doesn't have his helmet on. You can actually see his face and his black hair, but when you use him in combat, he does have his helmet. Hi Joe, how you doing? I was kind of wondering where he was at. Oh, I guess Mikuni is going because I forgot to have anybody else go. So here's Yoshimitsu. Ooh.
Final battle. Fight.
Again, as a samurai, Yoshimitsu can be really tough. Although he doesn't do nearly as much damage to a swordmaster as he does to a dancer. Though he's still level 40 swordmaster, I'm going to be really powerful.
I must go. Excuse me.
I forgot to build that stronghold up too, which I was supposed to do. Okay, so Squid Face Yoshimitsu, I really love. I was concentrating enough on it. I think mine's wandering now, but yeah, his outfit's really good. Voldo's coming up here is also really good. He's had a lot of really funky costumes, but this is one of the hilarious ones.
Final battle.
Sun and Moon Face, two-faced man. Very appropriate since he is supposed to be blind and fights so well without with his face covered. He has a face on the back of his head too, since he sometimes fights backwards. And it's a Sun and Moon with this goofy clown outfit. Disappear.
That was truly absurd.
This character has a dark voice, which I usually don't give my characters. I almost always give them lighter voices, but for whatever reason, when I did this one, I made an all-female party, and I didn't want them having the same voices, I guess, so I had one character with a dark voice. A scandalous barbarian gladiator outfit. Interestingly, the voices you give them also sometimes change their opening and ending actions that they take, rather than just having... It was one of the interesting things about Soul Calibur 3, is that not only do they have different... not only are your, pre-action or pre-combat and post-combat movements dictated by the weapon style you've got, but they also can be by the alignment or whatever configuration of the equipment you're using and the voice you've got. One of the really, really weird things about it is that one of my favorite opening battle scenes from that is if you have a good aligned voice, but that's depressed, a kind of good dark, as I call it. One of their actions at the start of battle is they cross their hand over their chest and it glows with lightning energy buildup. But they only do that the first couple of times when you're first starting the game, when you're low level and stuff. And then after you've won Chronicles of the Sword once, or after you've reached a certain level or something, they stop making that action, and instead they cross their hands in front of their face and look really downcast for a second. Just kind of little weird things in the how they develop the characters for this. Anyway, here's General Gerardo with the line. So you've come.
Battle 1. Fight.
General Gerardo also has impregnable, or not impregnable, but Guardian Force. So yeah, not bothered by anything. Ouch. So defeating him with one character is impossible. If I'm lucky, it'll just be 2. But most likely that fight did not go well, so I'm probably going to have to use at least 3.
Battle 2. Fight.
Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? It's over.
Luckily, Gerardo also has a weapon that does damage to him as he attacks. However, the thing he does also have is a lot of high stats. His defense is absurd, as you can see. I'm doing chip damage to him. He almost does more to himself than you do to him, especially when he does multiple attacks like that. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be a 3 character. No, this is the one fight in the game where that happens, actually. It is one of the weird things. They choose a random character
Battle
instead.
3. Fight.
Did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it?
Ouch. And then they go in a random order as well. But in fact, it seems like your main character is always last, from what I can tell. Just in this fight.
It will be a long time before my sword is complete.
And he is, except for this fight. It's really weird.
You do not yet know where to direct that power. Right now, your strength is controlled by others.
Longest cutscene in the game.
Think for a moment. For whom do you wield your power? For what purpose? And against whom? You must learn to control that strength yourself. Otherwise, you will never become a true warrior.
Also, nice delayed scream, Gerardo. And holy cow, that's Emperor Strife. He's got Soul Edge. What the heck? And now Abilia says, "Aha, we're done. General Gerardo's defeated. The rebels have been suppressed. I'm going home." And the rest of our troops are all extremely depressed because we just defeated the enemy. So, now the rebels are vanquished. Who's the enemy? Oh, well, you know what? After making sure he got killed, we're kind of sorry for General Gerardo. We decide he was right after all. So now we're going to rebel against the Empire. So the rebels that we just spent the last 3 missions decimating, we are now leading them against the Empire. Because, of course, why not? This is my least favorite mission in the game. It's one of the longest, and they restrict you to not 4, but 3 characters. There are 3 Soul Calibur characters on this map. There are as many Soul Calibur characters to defeat as you get characters. It is insane. I hate it, especially on SC%. So the first couple of guys are wimpy and they're nobodies, but after that we start fighting some really, even the ones who aren't Soul Calibur characters are now starting to get really strong. Yeah, you'd think so, huh? We'll go back, starting next Chronicle, we'll be back to 5 for the rest of them. The final 4 Chronicles will all be 5 characters. But I don't know why they give you only 3 here. It's so rough. And it makes it go so long. Because, you know, the biggest portions of downtime in the game are while you're defeating strong, you know, bigger strongholds. And the strongholds get more and more hit points as the game goes on. And it's not a big deal because but that's not as big a deal because you get more and more characters in your group until you get to the maximum of 5. But this one does not have smaller strongholds. It's still got the strongholds as if it were... the strongholds are just as strong as they are in other ones. But they are not... but you only have 3 characters to get through them, so there's a lot of downtime just waiting for strongholds to get taken in this Chronicle, as well as everything else.
I must go. Excuse me.
I shouldn't be going that long, I can't go through them. One of the things about giving orders in this game is that your characters... It's one of the things I usually talk about that I haven't yet, I don't think. Your orders stop, whatever orders you've given somebody stop once you enter Soul Calibur combat, but otherwise they will continue moving no matter what happens. If they get into a fight in the field with somebody and then defeat them, they'll keep going afterwards. If they take a stronghold but it was empty, they'll move through it afterwards. But if they have to stop and do a final battle against an enemy, their orders stop. So that's one of the reasons why I also delay giving characters orders sometimes, because I want just one character to move forward, engage the enemies coming up in combat, defeat them all, and then I give them one reorder, and I wait slightly and give the other ones orders so they don't reach the combat and therefore don't have their commands stopped. They'll just run through, because since the game pauses while you're giving commands, you want to give as few commands as possible. The more you have to open that menu, the more time you lose.
Decisive battle.
This is the... No, there's one more generic character, and then they're all a pain on this Chronicle.
1, fight. Ring out.
This is your Looks like I won this fight.
Yeah. You really need a 5th character in this mission, and only having 4 is such a pain. Such a pain.
Decisive battle. Battle 1, fight.
Okay, last generic. Now they're tough. These elite guys are all in the high 40s, low 50s, sometimes to mid 50s. They have really good AI and really awesome stats. Luckily, because I'm a sword master, I don't have to worry about getting slaughtered by them quite as easily. Because Mirasame is just so powerful at getting any life back that you take a dive instead. Yes, down lose. I mentioned it while we were watching Soul Calibur. We had a mission battle where once your character, where the first person who got knocked off their feet and hit the ground would automatically lose the battle. Well, for the one and only time in Chronicles of the Sword, we have that mission here too. And it's against a Soul Calibur character. Which actually isn't bad. I'd rather it be a Soul Calibur character because that means a level 60 is not all that terrifying. I should have built that up first, but I'm not as worried about dying. So that's Zosalamel. He gets that going, and luckily the Sword Masters are generally really good against him with, yep, it's the sumo fight, yeah. Maybe that's what they should have called the mission instead of down lose. The missions are, some of them are pretty badly translated. There's a couple in particular I'm going to point out here upcoming.
Battle 1, fight.
Saw that coming, but I didn't prepare for it properly. Get to the edge. There we go, take a dive.
Ring out. Fight.
Golly, I might die anyway. I thought I wouldn't, but that's what samurai do. Hey, Gooby, you missed some real fun. You missed some real fun.
Final battle. Fight.
Oh dear, that's actually bad. Feel the power of the high defense and hit points of a level 40 sword master. So, my feet were playing around and just moving because I'm a very restless sitter. I keep changing position. My feet were too close to my power supply, and I hit on something that was leaning on it and turned off my power supply that has both my computer and my PlayStation connected to it. So I turned off not only my computer this time, but my PS2 as well, and lost my game progress. Luckily, I have an old practice game saved at roughly the point we were at, just a little bit ahead. So we were able to continue the run more or less intact, but now everything's different. This is a really, really old game I haven't touched in like 2 years. It was one of my... using my old strats. I don't even have a dancer. I have 5 sword masters. That's how old it is. I stopped doing that like a month into speedrunning this game. That's good enough. So...
Decisive battle.
So at least we did have a backup, just by pure luck that I haven't saved over the save game with anything else.
Battle 1. Fight.
Pop. So imagine how much more fun sumo would be if the sumo guy who was knocked down on his butt was then blasted into the air by a bomb. Very well, I'll just come back again. Okay, now we have to deal with the next 2 Soul Calibur characters, Talim and Yunsung, who are together in a very powerful whirlwind map. And their AI is once again programmed to take care of whirlwinds, and I have to deal with both of them. This is another really annoying, difficult fight. Yep. But hey, the very nice thing about that, of course, is I only have to fight 1 guy and not 4 in a row, and then have to restart if I lose.
Decisive battle.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. I couldn't believe that when it's a one-hit kill situation.
Battle 1. Fight.
Thank you for knocking me that way. If he'd knocked me backwards instead, I might have gone off the edge. How did he reach me? I was really whirlwinded away. Luckily, Yunsung and Talim are both weak classes. Yunsung is a thief, worst class in the game. Talim is a saint. Fairly weak class, especially on offense.
Fight.
Though with the whirlwind, she doesn't need a lot of... all she has to do is knock me off, which is not hard in this whirlwind area. How did that hit me first? Their secondary outfits, by the way, are pretty standard. Cool looking.
Did you really expect to get the better of my blade?
Okay, now it's time for the MK Bunny strat. She actually texted me about this a couple months ago. Usually when I, after defeating, I think they're open. Usually after defeating Talim and Yunsung here, I march my 3 guys over, take this guy out, and then take down this stronghold. One of the reasons I do that is that it pulls this character over here, and so I'll fight 2 at once and won't get an extra loading screen. However, this stronghold is much smaller, so I go through it much faster, especially considering I only have 3 characters, and it's actually a much easier stronghold with no mission, while the other one is separate, so fighting two characters there is actually really bad. So it's a decent amount faster to go north here. And again, I call this the MK Bunny strat because she texted me this a little bit after I did a run once and said, wouldn't that be faster? And I was like, you know, actually, I think it would. It's one of those things where I have a very logical thought process. I decide on something and come up with the logic of why it's good, but I don't fully consider the implications of the other alternate method. Taking that extra distance around and everything, it's more direct that way. And I think it's definitely faster on any percent because I don't have to fight the Soul Calibur characters, but since I do have to fight them anyway, that leaves one or the other. This way's quicker.
Looks like I won this fight.
Looks like you did. Two buildings left. This is the bad one. It's another separate. Very problematic. Not as bad as the last one because she doesn't wield a lance, but still a pain. Then the final boss is anticlimactic compared to all of these fights I've had coming up to it. Kagami is not that tough. But Konomi here is, she's the pain. All thanks to Separate. It's been a while since I've only played a little bit of Soul Calibur. I started playing Soul Calibur 6. And I downloaded Soul Calibur HD for my 360, but didn't play it a whole lot at the time. But it's been so long since I played Weapon Master, I forgot just how many crazy missions it had as well. So, yeah, veterans of those battle modes, though, the Mission Battle and the Weapon Master, they know the pain of these really horrible missions. Yeah. I can't use that attack. The good news is, this is one of the places where the Dancer is really bad, and the Swordmaster is much better, so this this particular old strategy is actually making it go quicker.
This is your end. Listen, I just can't afford to lose.
Okay, so nice and easy. Okay, well, fair enough. Now there's a theoretically cheap way to beat Kagami and any other character who's in an all guard break format. There's a weird glitch in the game where if you have a weapon that has a property of causing an occasional guard break automatically when they guard, and they have an all guard break feature on them, if they get hit by their guard break and immediately get hit by a follow-up attack because it's part of a string of multi-hits, like from a lance charge or something, the next hit on them will actually take about half their health in one blow. It's really weird. I've never been able to do it consistently enough to implement it in the speedrun, but it's pretty amazing to see if you're playing it casually and manage to get that glitch thing to go off. Sometime, if the opportunity presents itself, and I feel confident in it, if I can do something to get good at it, I'd like to try doing that sometime just to show it off against Raphael or Mitsurugi or this guy here. Yeah, 650 hit points. This is another moment where I sometimes take a bathroom break.
Decisive battle.
I'm just glad it's not a level 5 stronghold with 1,000 hit points. At least there's that.
one, fight.
You're open.
You're open. You're open. Goodbye. You're open. You're open. You're open. You're open. Listen, I just can't afford to lose.
Yeah. If someone dies, you can't use a bathroom break, though, because somebody will recover long before the fortress is taken down. That goes a lot quicker than taking down this fortress. Okay, in Broken Bonds, all the characters we used to have in our army back during the first campaign, I guess, before a year passed and we fought the rebels, they were all taken out of our group at the start of Chronicle 13, all except for Abelia, who was assigned as our second-in-command in the anti-rebel force. And so now, here they are all back, and they are our opponents on this particular mission. They've been brainwashed, they've been given shards of soul edge, which are turning them into zombies, following enemy orders, so they're fighting against us even though they don't want to. And any of them that you defeat on the battlefield here, plus Aeneas, your primary buddy, backup main character, helper, whatever, they will all... whoever you defeat in battle will join you at the end of battle, plus Aeneas, who does it automatically for whatever reason. But, of course, it's a lot faster to go along the side here. These are where our 2 Soul Calibur characters are, and it actually happens to be the fastest route. Yes, back to 5 characters. It feels so good, and it's a much shorter Chronicle. Much, much shorter Chronicle. So here is a coin collector mission, which if we were not maxed out on gold, means that we could get more coins, but I still like to go for as many coins as possible. But we have to fight our old buddy Mega as well as Sophitia.
Decisive battle.
And this particular outfit of Sophitia's I really, really like. I don't like Sophitia's main outfit in Soul Calibur 3. It's kind of similar to her general outfits, but they make it look even more gauzy and pure white and take away any hint of blue. So it looks like she's literally just fighting in her nightshirt
Battle
shift.
one.
But this actually looks like cool Greek Holy Maiden armor.
Ring out.
19 is theoretically a little bit longer, but you do get 5 characters there, so
Battle two.
it's pretty close to the same time to complete in the speed run. On 100%, Chronicle 19 is definitely the longest because it has a lot of extra chronicles in various places, a lot of extra strongholds you need to take. But in any percent and SC percent, it's pretty much a wash. Chronicle 20 is actually much shorter, and there are no strongholds. It's the weird thing about it. We'll see that when we get there. So Sophitia is a sage, just like her sister Cassandra. Pretty tough overall. Sometimes she can give me trouble, but I don't expect to have too much trouble with a level 50 Sword Master. My stats at this point are through the roof. You can see character stats, but I never do it in a speedrun because you have to pause the game to do so by opening the command menu. Then you can shuffle through them. I'll go ahead and do it here. I'll just show that off. Here, Strength 193, 194, 133. My Dancer at this point would be about 160 attack, 90 defense, and maybe 130 agility. So since it's a marathon and everything, I can show that off for a second. You can only do that to your allies, unfortunately. They won't let you see the stats of the enemies. Doesn't really matter. So here's Tira. Tira has glue. Glue actually pulls you together. We've encountered it a couple times before, but I didn't really talk about it. Glue is problematic if you like to use Siegfried and Astaroth and other super long-range slow people. But it doesn't mean anything to me in my shoulder charge. I don't mind being in close. Shoulder charge isn't like super fast, but it's usually faster than what the enemy does.
Battle one.
And it means that I can
Fight.
do follow-ups just fine. Usually Tira isn't too hard, but sometimes she gets like this. She might have killed me if I were my dancer. Of course, if I were my dancer, I might have also already stun-locked her
Looks
to
like
death.
I won this fight.
Tira is the only Soul Calibur character who has 2 classes. Because there are 23 characters that you can customize, and each one gets 2, that would give you a total of 24. So Tira was chosen to be both a thief and an assassin, but as the character appearing in Chronicles of the Sword, naturally they'd want to give her the more powerful class as opposed to the weaker class, so she's an assassin. Low hit points and defense, but very high attack, so she did a decent amount of damage to me. Which means Yun Sung is the only thief and weakest character in the game. And now I spoke way back in Chronicle 4 that there were 2 really tall characters. Arion in Chronicle 4 was the first one. Aeolus, the boss here in Chronicle 17, is the other super tall character. And they're wearing similar outfits too, so even though one's from Dalkia and one's from Randall, you might think they were brothers or something. So all the rest of these places over here have characters who are your characters you're supposed to have in your party and recruit, like Reese and Eurydice. That is where Canon is, even if you didn't save her. That's where Larage is, even if you didn't save him. And Aeneas is there in that one. Because of the delay of my capture device, of course, I might not have caught that properly. I wasn't paying attention to my stream capture device video. So yeah, even though this has 900, it goes by a lot faster just because we have 5 characters. Oh no, is he gonna make it? No.
Decisive battle.
Aeolus is all unblockable, which means that he's theoretically a tough opponent, but he's a Steel Fan user. Steel Fan is one of the weakest weapons, especially in the hands of the computer. They never do a whole lot with it.
Battle one. Fight.
His stats are good. Look at the little damage he's taking. I can't block. Why am I trying to block? Sure, that attack will definitely hit before my aggressiveness gets you.
Did you really expect to get the better of my blade?
Alright, upcoming, Chronicle 18. Our second duel with Abelia. And one of my favorite strats in the game. Okay, 2 things to keep in mind here in Chronicle 18. We have a unique victory condition and a unique loss condition. Our unique loss condition is we can't lose our main character or the Chronicle's done and we have to restart. I have lost a really good run because I had my main character up in dangerous action and lost on a difficult whirlwind mission to a generic soldier who I should have beaten easily. But I just happened to slip up and got tossed out of the ring and lost, and voila, my PB attempt went up in smoke. Up to that point, it was probably the best run I've ever done. So I try to keep her out of the way. Yeah, that is true. It cannot ruin it this time. So I can get involved in a couple of fights, but I have to make sure they're absolutely safe. Now, the other thing is that there's a unique victory condition. I don't have to take the main stronghold. The only thing I have to do is defeat Abilia. Abilia is in the main stronghold, so you might think that that means I have to take the main stronghold, but that's not actually the case, as you will see. Thanks to my super wicked strats. Okay, I've lured... Oh, yes, definitely need to... So I run her out just mostly to lure just a couple of enemies away. Oh, actually, that's even smarter.
Battle 1. Fight.
I need to remember blocks, because that's almost always the attack they start with. And I usually remember that, and I remember it just a second late. Goodbye, indeed. Thank you, MK Bunny. Yes, don't ruin the surprise of this amazing strat. It is the best strat in the world. It's like ye good old RPG strat. And if you played a lot of RPGs or seen a lot of speedruns, you'll probably understand what that means. Or at least you'll understand when you see it. Oh, so that's what he meant. And actually, I just came up with another brand new strat, which is very useful here. There. Now, this... I can't believe I didn't think of that before, because I use it... because I'm bringing back another strat I've used before for this Chronicle, called the plug strat, by attacking a stronghold and keeping enemies from coming out. I'm going to do that in a couple places here as well, but I can actually do it up here to avoid fighting any of these guys. Hopefully. Okay, coming up is our penultimate Soul Calibur fight against Siegfried, who's here in offense, reserve offense up. Siegfried is a knight, along with Samurai, the two most powerful normal classes in the game, you know, not including the broken Swordmaster. So he is pretty tough. He also has reserve offense up, so with his natural attack power, if we let him live and don't quite finish him off, he could make a comeback and stomp us really hard. Usually doesn't happen, but he can be dangerous. I should have made my character a cavalry for this just to make it work out a little bit better. And she's automatically attacking this now, so they won't be able to attack her.
Decisive battle. Battle 1. Fight.
I love this final battle music too, by the way. Siegfried's secondary outfit is really great because I think it fits the theme of his character a lot better in Soul Calibur 3 because he's supposed to be wandering around as a vagabond. He looks really awesome in his first player outfit with that shining armor and his long hair, but also he looks like he'd be eminently recognizable, and he's supposed to be trying to travel about more or less secretly. Of course, if you want to get very technical, he's also supposed to be carrying two giant swords, one shoved into the other, as he has both Soul Edge and Soul Calibur in his possession, you know, having done that at the end of Soul Calibur 2. As he's wandering around trying to find a way to destroy them, but, you know, whatever. But he just looks like a traveling vagabond swordsman and looks pretty cool in that secondary outfit. This is the Whirlwind map where I lost myself before. Yeah, seriously. Especially when they're, the giant size, that they're both the giant size they're supposed to be. Carrying one sword like that makes you recognizable enough as it is, but two?
Decisive battle. Battle 1. Fight.
Stupid whirlwind. It's a powerful whirlwind, too. You did it, I think. The whirlwind kept me from jumping out of the ring. Okay, here's another plug strat. All these guys around are going to try to rush back to the main stronghold to defend it once I start attacking it. So by having one character focus on attacking this place, they will be stopped there and won't be able to get past. That leaves me only 3 characters to fight the final boss, but hopefully there'll be enough. Because Abilia has, once again, for the 3rd and luckily final time, Guardian Force. Which is so awful. Now we're going to see if this strat is going to pay off. Because I don't actually want to fight these guys, or there's no point in what I was doing. Now will they catch me? The horseman will. Is it going to be enough to kill me? It may. Darn, looks like I am going to have to fight them. That's too bad. So this strategy is one that can work in the future, but I need to make sure that I make my main character cavalry before. That way I'll take even more time to take down that main stronghold and won't have to worry about it. Okay, but we get to see Baldwin, the level 3 guy. Look, it's a level 3 guy at this stage of the game. Now, this is Abilia's